Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I am doing possibly one of the most highly requested videos of the past 6 months since I did my last video of this. It's my updated tattoos I'm going to do today. I'm not including piercings in this like I normally would because I'm going to do a whole separate video on piercings and my jewellery collection because I saw Sophie do that video and it was great. I will link hers. I'm actually scared to recommend her to you guys because I'm scared you're going to like her more than me, but yeah, she's great. I really love her channel and she's also from Brighton, so yeah. I can't believe I just did that. I'm basically going to start from 2019 because I feel like I didn't really have any new tattoos from my last video of this. And then I'm going to do a little FAQ at the end just to round up some of the most asked questions that I get about my tattoos. And then I'm also going to have a blog post that goes up with this, providing I am on the ball. This is such a commitment. If I haven't answered yours in this video, it might be over in that blog post, so go and check it out. P.S. if you didn't know, I have a blog. And it's kind of cool, so go read it. I'm so rambly today, can you tell I've had coffee? I feel sorry for Jenny who has to edit this. Sorry, Jenny. Okay, so let's get started. I have had some updates to my fingers this year. So the first that I had, I think, was this one, which is a rose. It's like the rose from Beauty and the Beast. I really love it. So pretty. Yeah, it's just actually been touched up, so it's looking a little bit darker than it kind of generally would. We just touched up the flower on the tip rather than the whole stem. The stem is like fine, but I have had to have it gone over just because my hand tattoos on the inside of my hands don't tend to heal so well. Fingers are okay generally, but the inside of my fingers are much harder, and I would say that if you're going to get finger tattoos, you do have to commit to the maintenance, like I do with my second finger tattoo, which is Baby Star. I love Baby Star, but Baby Star does not want to stay on my finger, so I do have her touched up a lot. I've got a feeling this time she's gonna stick. When I wash my face, I don't use my index fingers anymore, so I get like the flannel and I'm like this, and when I apply the product I'm like this, so these fingers just don't touch water at the moment, and even when I'm in the shower I'm like trying to get as little water on them as possible just so they kind of heal a little bit better, because having your hands constantly like wet doesn't really help the skin heal. Having them dry but not too dry is kind of ideal. Like I don't cream them constantly. I kind of do it a couple of times a day, and that's literally it. And then I think my next tattoo this year was this one, which is my birthday in Roman numerals. I'm gonna cover my elbow because I don't like elbows for some reason. This might actually be one of my favorite tattoos, and my tattoo artist G Hawks, I will link her in the info box, she also agrees. Like, we just love this so much. I saw someone, I think it was in Ibiza last summer, had something, I think it was a word there on their arm, just like a random person in the hotel I was staying at, and I loved it. And I was like, what can I put in this space? Which is basically like how I work with tattoos. People are like, does everything have a meaning? I'm like, sometimes I just see like something that would look cool in a space, and I'm like, what do I like that we can kind of like work in there? I have one behind my ear, which I will try and insert a cutaway of because it's very hard to show you guys, which is like a moon and then some kind of like line work. That's what I'm gonna call it. And I have to say that was the least painful tattoo that I have ever had. I think someone told me once you don't really have many like, what is it, like nerve endings or something in your head. Like apparently if someone stabbed you in the head you just wouldn't feel it. I mean, I don't want to test that to find out. It didn't really hurt, and I was amazed by that because I was quite anxious going into it, being like, oh my god, this is my head, like this is gonna really hurt, and it was absolutely fine. And I'm actually booked to have behind my other ear done soon. I'm going for something that's a little bit different for me, and I'm really excited about it. So yeah, let me know if you want me to vlog that. I think also in the same sitting, I think I had the last two that I've spoken about and this one done together. I had this done. All of them are by G, by the way. I always want to say who did them, and it's just most of the time it is her. And this is one that is, I would say, still a work in progress, because we kind of went on to the hand. We started like marking it out, and I haven't quite decided whether I want to come over here yet with it or up onto my thumb. Yeah, we've kind of like dotted that in, and then it comes down and around my arms, and I just love, like, this bit looks so beautiful and just sits really well. Absolutely beautiful, love it so much. That's another one of our favorites from this year, and I can't wait to have this bit kind of like filled in because I love how it looks around here, and I want this to look like that, but I just need to make sure that I'm like committed to whatever we do. G actually free-handed this one, so I think I'll insert some vlog footage from that sitting, but she actually just kind of like marked out where the leaves were going to be with a really thick pen. Like, I was quite scared. Like, I trust her. I would trust her to tattoo my face if I were inclined to do that. I don't plan on that, by the way. For how like amazing it came out just shows like how good she is at what she does. She is just an absolute pro. Love it. It's beautiful. And then recently I went back for another session with her. We just kind of book in, like, she's one of my oldest friends. I've known her since I was about 15, 16. Met through Tumblr, like the cool kids that we are. Our jobs have ended up being really, really cool. Never really expected that that would be what we do together in our spare time. But yeah, I go, we hang, we draw stuff on me. It's great. And yeah, I went and saw her the other day and we redid my fingers. We did my wrist and then my hip as well. Please ignore the fact that I'm in gym leggings. So on my wrist, we did this star, which I really like. It's very, very cute. Very similar to the one that's on my finger, but just very much more intricate. Sometimes I forget I have it at the moment and I think that there's a spider on my arm, which is really creepy. But yeah, it's like a little star and I really love it. It's just so cute. I've been wanting to put something there for a while, so yeah, that was perfect. And I feel like it just goes really well with lots of my other tattoos and the style of them. And then we also did my hip, which I will insert a cutaway of just because I'm gonna have to readjust my tripod completely to show you, and it's gonna be a bit of a ball ache. For anyone who's wondering, it's a quote. It's from one of my favorite films, The Devil Wears Prada. If you knew that when seeing it, you get like extra like awesomeness points. It's my favorite thing when people immediately know that that's the scene that I'm kind of like referencing with that tattoo, and I just love it, and it kind of just felt very, very appropriate. It was just quite relevant for me for the session that I had booked, and I kind of booked it in weeks and weeks and weeks before, but it just became even more relevant in that moment, and I was like, yeah, this is cool. We spent quite a long time going back and forth over it, and I'm so happy with how it turned out. So I'm gonna move on to the F.A.Q bit now. Do finger tattoos hurt? Yes. My least favorite places to get tattooed so far out of all the places that I have had are my hip, spine and fingers, I would say, just because they are kind of on a bone, if that makes sense, and it's just those particular bones just seem to hurt more than others. Like wrist, I'm absolutely fine with. The tops of my fingers I find easier than the inside. The inner part of my hips, like this bit here, really hurts, and then the kind of outer part of my hip also hurts, and the closer you go to the bone, the worse it is. They all hurt a little bit, but just some are bearable and some are like, why am I doing this to myself, please stop. But yeah, that is my experience so far, but obviously I don't have everywhere tattooed, so I can't really say in general. Best advice for someone planning on getting their first tattoo and what to expect. God, I feel like I could write an entire blog post on this. For your first tattoo, I would recommend sitting on a design for a really, really, really long time. Obviously I am now kind of discreetly covered in tattoos. I don't look like I'm covered, but we're on like 20 plus now, so I have a lot. They just all kind of blend. I'm 10 years in now and I don't not like the ones that I got as my first tattoos, and they're all so small and very discreet that it wouldn't bother me so much, whereas like I do think over bigger pieces a lot more. I'm still mulling over my right side that I want to kind of like extend and work on. I've been mulling over something underneath my arm for a really, really, really long time, and I keep coming back to it and will stencil new designs and things like that. But anyway, my point is I am quite spontaneous with them sometimes now, but in the beginning there is a real need to be like super, super considerate of everything that you plan on putting on your body. Some people kind of get one and then they stop, so I always just think that if you're gonna potentially just have that one, you want to make sure that it's really, really, really right for you. And then my next piece of advice would be to research artists that you really, really love. The internet is so great now in terms of finding great tattoo artists. Like, it didn't really used to be this way, especially when I first started getting tattoos. The industry has changed so, so much over the past 10 years. It's amazing. Although there was still kind of a similar vibe, but you know, lots of tattoo artists were on places like Tumblr and things like that, which weren't as hugely popular as Instagram, where you can find so many tattoo artists now. And I actually think that it's one of the best things that a tattoo artist can do for their like business and brand, is to build a really, really great Instagram following and page. Yeah, I would say utilize that. Find an artist that you really, really love, because I think if you get an artist that you love, even if the tattoo isn't so relevant to your life, you know, in like 20 years or whatever, if you love the artist and you love their work, then it's always a joy to have it on you. And I come at it from that perspective a lot. So obviously I have a ton of tattoos, and my tattoo artist is one of my favorite humans in the world, so it's an absolute joy to have her work on me. But I would also say is find a tattoo artist that when you meet with them or email them and you talk to them that you really like. If you get a vibe that you don't like so much, then I would say maybe keep looking, but also be open-minded to the feedback that they're giving you. I will also say that, because some people are like, I don't like this artist because of this, and I'm like, well, actually no, that's just a general thing, I'm sorry. In terms of what to expect, some of the places that I have walked into when I was younger in Brighton, the staff's bedside manner is not so great and can be a little bit blunt, and not all tattoo artists are super friendly, so it's definitely something to keep in mind. This is why I kind of like touched on finding an artist that you get on really well with. I think there is a big culture for people wasting the artist's time in terms of like messing them around in terms of the booking and things like that, so sometimes they can be a little bit standoffish. No one that I kind of get tattooed by is like that, but that is something that I just want to kind of like make you aware of, because I think some people walk into tattoo places and they're like, oh my god, everyone's just rude. I just want to prepare you that you might not always get a super friendly welcome if you are a walk-in. What I'm trying to say is that it can sometimes be a little intimidating, so just prep for that. I mean, you're the customer at the end of the day. If you don't like the vibe, then I would just say, and you feel really uncomfortable in that environment, then I would say keep searching for a different tattoo artist. Like, even if sometimes like you're not kind of happy with the situation, it means losing a little bit of your deposit, don't get tattooed by someone that you feel is wrong to be tattooing you, if that makes sense. I know a lot of people sometimes find it quite jarring that you don't always get to see your design properly before you go in on the day, and I would say that that is something that you should be prepared for, because what artists don't like doing is sending their work over to you. You take it and you go to a different tattoo artist that will do it for cheaper, or you have like a mate that can tattoo and you take that design and take it to someone else. It takes a really long time to get a design right. If you kind of like then take that design that they've done for you and you haven't paid anything yet, and then you take it elsewhere, that's their time and money that you have kind of just stolen. That's part of the reason why tattoo artists don't show you the full design and kind of send it over to you. Any changes that you want made on the day, they should be so happy to accommodate that, and even if you feel like it's not right, they will work on it with you until it is right, like any good tattoo artist will. If they decline changes, that's a bit of a red flag. But most tattoo artists, like, say I will send G over inspiration for things that I like, kind of like, here's the vibe, this is kind of what we're going for. I send her so many pictures, and obviously I do trust her a lot, so I kind of just send it to her and I'm like, draw some stuff up, and then I'll just kind of like chat to you when I see you, and we go in and I'll be like, oh, can this bit be a bit more like this, could it be a bit more like this, smaller, bigger, can I have an option of smaller and bigger, and I'll like be holding pieces of like paper up to myself. Yeah, it's a real collaborative effort, but obviously don't be scared of asking for changes. That is kind of what to expect in terms of like the process. You will normally be asked to pay a deposit. It varies per artist, and people have asked me to talk about like costs and things like that, but honestly it's going to be so different for everyone. There's going to be a minimum charge. I don't know, it's different for every tattoo artist, but people have asked like what things should be roughly for them, like judged on what I have, and I'm like, I have no idea. But if like a tattoo artist is tattooing you for like £10 an hour, for example, that's very cheap. I have never known for an hourly rate to be below 50. I think the hourly rate that I first ever paid was, or the minimum charge was 40, and that was 10 years ago, so obviously the cost of living has gone up since then. And it varies per shop, because some shops will like have been there for years and they'll have had a mortgage on that property, and some of them will be paying rent, and rent and mortgage prices are very different, obviously. So lots of people argue over it. I'm just like, if you like their work, you like their work, you know. I think especially like the process of being tattooed and the fact that you won't see your design necessarily always before you go in is something to really highlight, because I think some people are kind of find that really jarring. My mum plans on getting a tattoo soon apparently, and that's something I'm gonna have to warn her, and she's like a massive control freak, so I don't know how that is gonna go down. I broke my mother, she's getting tattooed. Any plans on big pieces? This is something I get asked all the time, is will you get a sleeve, will you do this? I don't ever plan on having a sleeve, to be honest. I don't think it will suit me. I've had kind of like, me and G have put stencils on me before and things like that, and I just think like bigger pieces just don't really look right on me. However, I love like this part of my body being quite heavily tattooed, not around the front but like the sides. I just think it is really, really nice. So that is definitely something that I'm open to the possibility of. What is your favorite tattoo and why? It might be this one just because I think it's so cool. Really like Times New Roman as a font. Like I just think that it's really like strong but like classic, and I love that. I just love the placement of it. It just feels really, really right. Like when I had it done I was like, this just feels really, really right for me. I love my wrist tattoos, and especially this one with the eye. Love my finger tattoos. I've always like, I just knew growing up that my hands would end up being tattooed. I used to always draw like a heart on my fingers. I still plan on one day maybe getting a heart on this one. If you haven't seen them, this is what I've got going on. Those are my favorites of the ones that G has done. And I also love the rose on my leg because I drew it. Do you ever feel weird being around family with them? What do your parents think about them? I've never felt awkward being around my family with tattoos. The only time I've ever had a bit of a moment about it is when I had my hand tattooed for the first time, and my dad was weirdly not happy about that. He was like, we always said no hands. I was like, we've never said that, Dad. He was like, we said no hands, and his little bald head is starting to like go really, really red, and I was like, you mad? But yeah, he was weirdly not happy about that, but now they've just kind of accepted and I've gone even further with it. So they'll be shocked and then they'll just get over it, or they'll disown you and you'll have to divorce your parents. But yeah, I've never really felt awkward about it. I think we just always knew that I was going to end up being tattooed. It's something I've been drawing on myself since I was 6. I just always loved tattoos. Like before, I think I was planning my first one from about the age of 15 or 16. When I was really young, my parents were like, okay, you can have one. You're 18 now. You're of legal age to have a tattoo, you can have one, but please stick between these guidelines, especially because you want to work in a school with children. And at the time that was definitely like, used to be a big no-no. I think it's becoming more kind of widely accepted now. But yeah, so they gave me guidelines of like neck down and like a certain point on my kind of leg. So basically that's why all my first tattoos ended up on my body. And then I switched to working in marketing. At first the job was very corporate, so I didn't kind of like go outside of that, but I eventually started working for less and less corporate, like heavily corporate companies. I was never going to go back into corporate and felt a bit more comfortable, so I then went on to my ankles and kind of like it spread from there. After I got my ankles done, I was like, you can never see them, little tattoos are great. It's kind of been a gradual progression over the years. So we had our kind of ground that we compromised on to begin with, and then as I got older started earning a living for myself, and they were like, we don't need to worry about her, she's always going to have a job and stuff like that, she's like smart, got a good work ethic. They were kind of like, they let up a lot. They know me, they know that tattoos aren't really going to affect my life. Like I've got a lot of experience, I'm quite set in terms of work, like I will never be without work. I've made sure of that. Yeah, they're kind of quite happy that that was the only reason they were ever funny with me for tattoos, is they didn't want it to affect my jobs. It's never going to do that now. I never plan on going back into corporate. My dad also didn't have a leg to stand on because he's actually got like a half sleeve and a chest piece, so my mum's always not liked them very much, but she's come around to it. When I started getting the smaller ones, she really, really liked them, and she's kind of on board with it now. Like last time I got new tattoos, we just played a game where I was like, gotta find them, because they're literally that small. How often do you have to touch up, and does touching up make them look new? This is the most recent one, and the star obviously that I've had touched up. It doesn't make them look new, but it definitely does kind of like sometimes neaten them up a bit, and in terms of like your fingers, they can fade, so you just have to have that done. As long as they've healed well, they last really, really well, because they are just so fine. They stay looking really sharp, I find, for a bit longer. The ones that she's done, like I just don't ever think that they look like they need touching up. I mean, maybe in like another 10 years I'll start to see a difference, but like even my oldest tattoos, I haven't had them touched up yet and they still look really good in my opinion. Have you ever regretted any of your tattoos, and do you ever get worried that you will? There was only one that I just got done on like a day that I just remember being really, really sad on. That was not great. Would have, in hindsight, should have like cancelled or moved that appointment. I've become quite good at changing the way that I think about things and looking at things that kind of maybe make me a bit sad or whatever as more of a like, look what this taught you, that was your lesson, and then I see it and I remember that lesson, so it's kind of good. I've made my peace with it, I've made my positive. But yeah, I'm thinking of reworking it and making it a little bit more fresh. Haven't decided yet. Some people are like, I like the fact it's got a lesson in it, leave it how it is. I generally kind of look at tattoos as this is where I was at the time, so I don't really think I will regret any of them. I also think because G does them, they're just all really special to me because she is special to me, so yeah, there's also that kind of works into it as well. So I just don't really think that I will regret any of them, and if I do, then that's a lesson. Where do you get the inspiration for your tattoos? Like I said before, sometimes I just see them, like not them, but like placements on people that I like, and I'm like, oh, there, that's cool, I like that. I'm very much around like fitting certain designs to a space. So I have things that are on my back burner that I would love to have, but I haven't found the right place for them yet. Yeah, that's kind of how I work things, is I either see placements on people or designs and then I'm like, oh, I'd like that, but a bit like this. And then it kind of gets my brain going, and I will kind of like work on a design from there and kind of thinking about like the style of stuff I want. And then I'll send it to G and she does her magic, and then it all kind of like smushes together in a really nice collaborative way. How do you cope with critics around tattoos out in a work environment? I have never really had that. When I worked in marketing and it was a very corporate company, all of my tattoos were hidden, even though lots of the management there had tattoos and things like that. Some sectors within corporate aren't as much of an issue as others. I think if you're very like, I was not client facing, no one in marketing really was super client facing apart from like very, very high up people, so it wasn't as much of an issue. But if you are like client facing for a very like smart company, I do think that you're gonna have an issue, and I would just advise to not try and go against the grain. Like I would not have done that. I would just be completely tattooed under my neck. If in doubt, query it. Like, it's better than getting a tattoo and then being asked to leave your job or being hindered at work because of it. It shouldn't happen, and I think it will happen less and less in the future because so many people have tattoos now. We're kind of like in that limbo between it being acceptable and not being acceptable. And also in different countries in the world, tattoos are accepted differently. So I know across in certain like European countries, tattoos are still a massive like no-go if you want to work in corporate. Ask your employer first, just see what's the company policy on tattoos, just out of interest. What's the part of the body that you would never get a tattoo on? Probably the bottom of my foot, because I've heard that really hurts. But apart from that, there was nothing apart from maybe the palm of my hand and the bottom of my foot. Not gonna last well, and it's gonna hurt. Also the bottom of my foot, I'd never see it. Pointless. Hopefully I got round to all of the kind of most asked questions. Like I said, if I haven't answered one of yours, hopefully it will be in the blog post, so I will link that in the info box below. Or if you just want to type it in, it's hello-october.com. If you have any questions that haven't been answered, then pop them into the comments here, and I'll pop them onto my blog, so you can go and check over there and see if it's been added in if I haven't answered it. Oh, and in terms of the blog post as well, I may also have G kind of answer a few questions that if there's any that I don't know the answers to or I want her opinion, she's also going to be featuring on there as well. So if you want to read some stuff from her, then hopefully that will be in there too. Keep an eye out for my piercings and jewellery collection, which will hopefully be coming up over the next month. But yeah, that is it for me today. I hope you're all having the best day, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!